I'll be the first to admit that I'm one of the most skeptical people I know. I don't believe in ghosts or any other paranormal stuff. I'm quick to dismiss stories that seem fake or fabricated. That's why I'm at a loss for words at what happened to me just weeks ago. I wanted to share this while it was fresh. I'm still terrified, and maybe if I share it, someone out there can explain what happened. My friend Steve and his wife were going out of town for their anniversary. They built a massive home in the middle of nowhere for privacy. I insisted on watching their beautiful golden retriever for the weekend. I arrived on Friday afternoon, planning for a quiet couple of days. Steve stocked the house with snacks. It was overkill for a pet-sitting job, but I love dogs and quiet weekends, so it was a win-win. Friday night, the dog and I watched movies. Steve texted me at 9, "Don't get scared being alone. It gets spooky at night?" I sent an wall back. I'm a skeptic. I don't get scared of empty houses. We went to bed around 1 in the morning. At 3:21 a.m., I woke up to the sound of the dog barking downstairs. It was loud, vicious barking that actually startled me. I found the dog in the kitchen, barking at the basement door. All the hair on his back was standing straight up. I grabbed a big knife from the kitchen and opened the door. The dog ran to the doorway but refused to go down. I turned on the light and descended. I searched the closets, every corner, and the bathroom. No intruder, no ghosts, just an empty basement. The only thing I noticed was how unreasonably cold it was. Even in winter, it's never that cold down there. I eventually went back upstairs. The next day, the dog was fine. I went back to the basement, and the temperature was normal. I didn't give it much more thought. That night, I slept on the couch just in case. Again, at the same time, I woke to the dog throwing a frantic fit. This time, when I grabbed the doorknob, he started to cry and whimper. It was the strangest thing. I went downstairs anyway. It was freezing again, but now it stunk badly. Some family pictures on the wall were knocked over, and bar stools were on the ground. The smell was overbearing. I straightened the stools and left. By morning, the smell was gone, and the dog followed me down happily. Steve got home at 1 in the morning. I explained everything to him. I expected him to laugh, but his face turned pale. He told me the dog did this same thing as a puppy, then just stopped. They never knew why. He seemed more freaked out than me. It's been 2 weeks, and I can't stop thinking about it. Can anyone explain what that smell was or why the dog acted that way? The more time goes by, the scarier it becomes. I just want some sort of answer. It was a few years ago now. I had just broken up with my boyfriend and moved into this cute little apartment. It was an entire apartment complex. The complex itself was beautiful, quiet, and elegant. I quickly made friends with neighbors and several other tenants. A few months into my lease, I thought I heard the sound of running coming from the hallway one night when I was getting ready for bed. I looked out the peephole of the door, but didn't see anything. There weren't any kids in my building, so I couldn't imagine who would be running. My apartment is on the ground level, and my windows face a beautiful courtyard. It took a little while to get used to the windows being at ground level. However, that information is about to become relevant because one night I woke up to what sounded like giggling outside my bedroom window. The giggling stopped for just a second, and then a faint tapping sound could be heard on the other side of the glass. It freaked me out. I grabbed the curtain and whipped it open. There was nobody there. I was looking at the quiet night courtyard and nothing more. This weird giggling outside my window continued for a few nights. I just learned to ignore it, thinking they were just kids playing stupid pranks. 2 days later, while I was at work, I received an email from the complex manager. She claimed it was urgent and asked me to stop by. When I showed up, she told me to lock the door. She started talking almost in a whisper. The security guard came in and sat next to me. Around 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 small hooded figures approached my door. They looked about the size of children, standing an inch away from the door. The scariest part was that they didn't move at all. It was nearly 10 minutes of them just standing extremely close to my apartment door before they finally walked away. One of the small figures reached for the doorknob and tried opening the door. You can see them jostling it. The security officer attempted to see where the kids skipped off to, but they vanished. They couldn't find them on any other camera in the complex. It was about 1:30 in the morning. I heard the sound of my doorknob rattling around. It was happening. The kids were back at my door. I heard a child laughing, and then another soft child voice whisper, "Mom, we're home. Just open the door and let us in." The voice whispered again, "Please let us in. We're home now, please." That last "please" that the child said almost sounded desperate. I yelled that their mother doesn't live here anymore, and I was calling the cops. Both kids started to giggle. Then the doorknob started to shake again. A few days later, I ran into the manager in the parking lot. She told me the woman who lived here before me was strange. She was fairly confident that something horrible happened with that woman's children. She didn't elaborate. She just said this wasn't a prank. There should have been no way for those kids to get inside the building without a key. So, how did they get in? Where did they go? As time goes on, I get more freaked out. I'm usually removed and don't even live there anymore, yet I'm more scared today than I was then. Neighborhood kids are the easy solution. But it seems impossible. Maybe I really did have an experience with something not from this world.
This story I'm about to share happened to me around 10 years ago. It's without a doubt one of the most terrifying things that's ever happened to me. I recently stopped telling people this story because most of the time people tell me I'm lying or making it up. It was my wife who pushed me to write this down and share it. She said maybe somebody out there has gone through a similar experience, so here it is. Back then, I worked at a dead-end job. Just like most of us, it was a way to make ends meet. The mundane drag of retail work was beginning to drain the life from me. One afternoon, when I was leaving work, I noticed something neon pink. It was hanging from my cart or handle. It was a sticky note with a friendly message written. It simply said, "You're special and I hope you have an amazing day." It also had a smiley face sticker attached to the note. I thought it was nice and it made me smile. Other than that, I didn't give it another thought at that moment. The next few days when I left work, I would have a message attached to a note in the same spot. I know some people have told me that it's creepy and weird, but I like the attention. At that point in my life, I wasn't getting attention very often, so it was nice to be seen. After 3 or 4 friendly messages, I decided I was going to leave a message on my door this time. I kept things friendly, while also walking that line of being a little flirtatious. When I left work that afternoon, I was happy to find another note. The flirt worked because this person started flirting right back. I didn't know if this was a joke or if it was serious, but either way, I kept the charade going. The shift before I had a day off, I left a note saying something along the lines of, "Don't miss me too much on my day off." When I left work, I had a sticky note that just had a sad face drawn on it. This is where I thought the game would end for good. Somebody was having fun with me. I gave in. And now that I was going to be off, I figured it would just fizzle out. I couldn't have been more wrong. When I woke up the next day, I did some stuff around the house. It was late morning when I went outside for the first time. I noticed something neon pink on the car door again. I couldn't believe my eyes. I tentatively approached the note. It said, "You look cute when you're sleeping." This scared me. After a little while, I concluded that someone was messing with me. It clearly was someone I worked with who knew where I lived. I crumpled the note up and threw it away. When I returned to work, the notes continued for a few days. They started friendly, But by the third day of my not responding anymore, they started to get mean. The friendly messages were now saying things like, "You better answer me, and remember, I know where you live." I thought about calling the police, but I was still so sure that it was somebody I knew messing with me. I decided to leave a note the next morning. I wrote a message saying to leave me alone, or I would call the police. When I left work that afternoon, I noticed that my note was gone. And for the first time in a while, I had no new notes on my door. I felt relieved. That night, I woke up at some point in the middle of the night because I thought I heard something. Ever since the note outside, I was on edge. Then I heard something again. It sounded a little like shuffling. I grabbed a baseball bat and made my way down the long hallway. I made it to the end of the hallway and just stopped. I turned on the dimmable lights and scanned the room from where I was standing. I stood in silence for a minute or so, and I heard nothing. I turned the lights off and briskly walked back to the bedroom. I locked my bedroom door and turned on the TV. I wanted to drown out the noise of nothingness. I ended up falling asleep eventually. When I woke up that morning, I almost forgot about how scared I was. I walked to the fridge to grab some juice, and that's when I saw it. A bright pink sticky note was stuck to the fridge that said, "You can't keep me away," with another smiley face attached. After being frozen for about 30 seconds, I ran to check every door and window in my house, and they all were still locked. I called the police and gave them the info. They claimed to have done an investigation, but they weren't able to get any useful information. They tried to check the cameras in the parking lot where I work, but where I park, the cameras don't reach. I stayed at a friend's house for a couple nights. We ended up going to the hardware store and bought all new locks for the doors. A few months had gone by and nothing happened. No new notes at work and nothing at my house. It was over 2 months later when I left for work one morning, and I noticed one of the horrible pink notes on my front door. I grabbed the note and it said, "I guess you don't want to play anymore." I called the police right away, but they didn't do much. I think back to the night I heard something inside the house. There had to have been a person hiding somewhere just inches or feet from where I was standing. It's been 10 years and nothing has happened since that last note. I've since moved and I'm married now. Every time I see those stupid pink sticky notes, I always think back to that horrible experience. Whatever the case may be, I'm just happy I'm still here.